and we need to set the record straight here. There's been a lot of talk about diplomatic facility in Syria. The facility that was being used by the Islamic Republic of Iran was being used by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, the paramilitary organization of the regime. The individuals that were targeted were IRGC terrorist commanders. Mohammad Reza Zahedi, who was among those who was killed by Israel in Syria, was responsible and oversaw the IRGC Quds Force operations in the Levant, and that includes, by the way, personally spearheading the more than 170 attacks on US forces by IRGC proxy. So that's important to understand. This was the Revolutionary Guard exploiting diplomatic status for terrorist operations. Now, the danger here, as I go back to that original point, is that the regime in Iran is testing the boundaries of the red lines. It's pushing these boundaries, pushing the red lines further and further. Now, since October 7th, it has been doing this. The Islamic Republic has been escalating against not only Israel, but the US and its regional allies. Now, the Biden administration since October 7th has gone out of its way to tell Tehran that it does not seek to impose direct consequences on Iran. Now, rather than having a de-escalating effect, that's actually shaped the Iranian calculus, that's shaped the Islamic Republic's calculus, and has made them believe that they can get away with escalation without facing any consequences. So it's key to if in order to have de-escalation, the US, the Israelis, must change that calculus and must make it very clear to the regime in Iran that there will be direct consequences imposed on it, including in sites on IRGC sites inside of the country.
But it was a consulate which the Iranians argue was sovereign territory. So that was the escalation from their point of view.
Well, look, the Islamic Republic has for years been exploiting international protocol on diplomatic status, not just in the Middle East, but also in Europe, when we've seen terror plots taking place in Europe against targeting Iranian diaspora members, targeting members of the Jewish community. The Islamic Republic's embassy has always acted as a shield, and has been exploited by the terrorist arm of the regime to conduct such attacks. You have to understand and ask the key question, why was the IRGC's Quds Force commanders meeting at a so-called diplomatic compound? Why was Mohammad Reza Zahedi, who spearheads and is responsible for coordinating Hezbollah attacks on Israel, why was he using a diplomatic facility? Well, that is because the IRGC exploits international protocols on diplomatic status to conduct terror operations. Now, Zahedi, as I said, was responsible for coordinating Hezbollah attacks on Israel, for overseeing more than 170 attacks on US forces. By the way, that includes the killings of 3 US soldiers. Now, the US still, despite the fact that US forces were killed, has avoided, until now, imposing direct consequences on Tehran. That calculus must be changed. You need to change the calculus of the regime in Iran if we're looking for long-lasting peace and stability and de-escalation in the region.
Okay. Kasra Arabi, thank you so much for joining us with your insight today.
Thank you very much.
Now, Iran